LeBron James learns his high school rival died in prison, then visits his family in secret. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today, and if you like this story, don't forget to subscribe. The sun had just dipped below the skyline when LeBron James pulled into the quiet, cracked driveway of a modest house on the edge of Akron. No cameras. No entourage. No one even knew he had left L.A. He hadn't told his team. He hadn't told Savannah. All he had was a name, Darnell Rivers, and a folded letter with 6 words that hit harder than any headline ever had: "He always looked up to you." It had come in the mail 2 days ago. No return address. No sender's name. The handwriting looked old, shaky, like it came from someone holding a pen for the first time in years. The name at the top, though, was unmistakable. Darnell. A name LeBron hadn't heard spoken in nearly 2 decades. Not since high school. Not since the nights they packed gymnasiums so full that fire marshals were posted at the doors. Darnell Rivers. The only player who ever made him second-guess himself back then. A high-flying, trash-talking, 6 feet 5 inches monster of a shooting guard who played every game like someone was trying to steal food off his plate. They were the talk of Ohio, 2 kids born for greatness, only one of whom ever made it out. Now Darnell was gone. Dead. Stabbed in a prison yard over a pickup game that got out of hand. That's all the article said when LeBron looked it up. A few short lines on a local news site. No tribute. No fanfare. Just a name and a file photo from his junior year. LeBron sat in the car for a while, engine running. The house hadn't changed much. Same faded blue siding, same rusty mailbox, same crooked fence he remembered from a time when he still had braces. But it felt different now. Like a monument to something unfinished. He took a deep breath and stepped out. The gravel crunched under his Jordans as he approached the front door. His hand paused mid-knock, as if part of him expected someone to stop him, to tell him this wasn't his place. But he knocked anyway. It took a moment. Then the door opened slowly. She stood there, older now, lines carved deeper into her face. But there was no mistaking her. Ms. Rivers. Darnell's mother. Her eyes widened for a second, not in surprise, but in a kind of cold recognition. "Well," she said flatly. "Look who finally remembered us." LeBron didn't flinch. "Can I come in?" She hesitated, then stepped aside. The inside of the house smelled like old wood and faint lavender. Time hadn't touched much. The same family photos hung on the walls: Darnell as a baby, Darnell in his jersey, Darnell and LeBron shaking hands after the state semifinal game. That was the last time they were ever seen on the same court. LeBron looked around, trying not to stare. He sat down on the couch. Ms. Rivers didn't offer him a drink. Didn't smile. Just stood there in silence. "I didn't know," he said quietly. "No," she replied. "You didn't care to." "That's not fair." She crossed her arms. "You came through here once. You knew he was struggling. And then you disappeared into the league. Headlines. Contracts. All that." He kept watching. Even in there, he watched. Said he knew a king when he saw one. LeBron nodded slowly. "I didn't know he was in prison." "He wrote to you," she said, almost bitterly. "I watched him do it. Said it wasn't about asking for help. Just wanted you to know he was proud." He looked at her, stunned. "I never got it." She walked to a nearby drawer and pulled out an envelope. "Because he never mailed it. Said it didn't matter. Said you were busy building something bigger than this." LeBron took the envelope gently. It was worn, the edges curled. He didn't open it yet. "What happened?" he asked. "How'd it get that far?" She sat down for the first time, her voice softer. After that last game, the scouts stopped calling. He had a shot, but his temper, it caught up. Fights, suspensions. Then the wrong crowd. One thing led to another. You know how that story goes. He nodded. Yeah, he did. She pointed to the backyard. Hoop's still there, if you're curious. He glanced out the window. Rusty rim, backboard cracked. But it was still standing. He used to play out there all night, she continued. Even when he was older. Said he was replaying that game. The one you both balled out. He'd go over every move. Said that was the moment he knew he was worth something. LeBron swallowed hard. I came because I owed him, he said. Not because I think I can fix anything. I should have stayed in touch. Ms. Rivers looked at him long and hard. Then she finally nodded. I don't need your guilt, she said. But I won't stop you from paying respects. He opened the letter quietly. The ink was faint, but legible. Darnell's words were raw, no polish, no pretense. He talked about their rivalry, about how it kept him sharp, focused. How after LeBron made the league, he told everyone he'd been toe-to-toe with greatness. It was his one claim to fame. He mentioned regrets, sure, but he also said something else. Tell Bron I wasn't mad. He inspired me. Just wish we had one more game. Street rules. No cameras. Just us. LeBron closed his eyes. The words hit like a punch to the chest. He stood up, walked to the back door. Do you mind? Ms. Rivers just shook her head. Go ahead. As LeBron stepped outside, the wind picked up slightly, carrying with it the faint echo of a basketball hitting concrete. It was probably in his head. Or maybe not. He picked up a half-deflated ball resting near the steps. Spun it in his hands. Then dribbled once. Twice. The sound was sharp, uneven. But it felt real. In that moment, LeBron wasn't a global icon. He was just a kid in Akron again, back in the backyard of a boy who once challenged him to be better. A boy whose name deserved more than a footnote. And for the first time in a long while, LeBron didn't feel like the greatest of all time. He just felt human. LeBron stayed on the cracked concrete, his hands resting on the old basketball. The rim above him swayed slightly in the wind, a loose bolt creaking with each gust. It was the same hoop Darnell used to dunk on during summer nights while the neighborhood kids gathered around to watch. Back then, everything seemed like it was still possible. He bounced the ball a few more times, then went for a simple jumper. The ball bounced off the front of the rim and clattered to the ground. He didn't chase it right away. He just stood there, staring at the rim. It was like the game refused to forget. The back door creaked open again. You hungry? Ms. Rivers asked from the porch. Her voice wasn't warm, but it wasn't cold anymore either. LeBron nodded. Yeah. Sure. She walked back inside, leaving the door open behind her. He followed slowly, the ball still under his arm. Inside the kitchen, the table was already set with 2 plates and a small pot of stew. It wasn't a fancy meal, but it smelled good, real. Ms. Rivers moved like someone who'd been alone for too long but never let it show. LeBron sat across from her. They ate in silence for a while. The kind of silence that wasn't awkward, just heavy. You still live out here alone? He finally asked. She nodded. After Darnell's dad died, it was just us. Now, it's just me. LeBron shifted in his seat. You never moved? She gave a small laugh. Where would I go? This was home. Darnell kept saying he'd make it out. Said we'd get a bigger house, one with a porch swing. Every time you signed a new deal, he'd joke and say, that should have been me. Not with bitterness. Just regret. LeBron looked down at his plate. I thought he hated me. He didn't, she said firmly. He envied you. But he respected you. Always said you were the real deal. He just didn't know how to handle falling behind. LeBron nodded slowly. Neither did I, sometimes. She raised an eyebrow. Didn't look like it from the outside. He sighed. That's the problem. Everyone sees the games, the commercials. But they don't see what it costs. The people you lose along the way. She leaned back in her chair. Well, maybe this is your time to make up for some of it. LeBron nodded. That's why I'm here. They cleared the dishes together, something quiet and routine about it. He didn't remember the last time he'd done something that normal. Probably before the NBA draft. Probably before life got loud. Afterward, she pulled out an old photo album. Worn, with tape holding the spine together. You remember this, she said, flipping to a picture of the two boys sitting on a bench, drenched in sweat after a game. Darnell had his arms slung around LeBron's shoulders like he was the one who won. Yeah, LeBron said softly. That was the last time we really talked. He told me I was going to be bigger than the game. She looked at the photo for a long time. And then he went home to silence. LeBron closed the album. He deserved more. He did, she agreed. But he also made choices. I'm not gonna lie and say he was just a victim. He was stubborn. Angry. Thought the world owed him something. LeBron stared out the window at the rusted hoop. He was right about one thing. We should have had one more game. Ms. Rivers tilted her head. You really would have done it? In a heartbeat. She gave him a long, unreadable look. He said that too. Said if he showed up at one of your camps, unannounced, you'd still run it back with him. I would have. LeBron stood up. The weight in his chest hadn't gone away, but it was starting to make more sense now. He walked to the living room and stopped at the shelf of old trophies. Most of them were dusty, some broken. A few still shined. I want to do something, he said without turning around. Ms. Rivers looked up. Not for show. Not for the press. I want to start something in his name. A program. For kids like him. Kids who fall through the cracks. She didn't answer right away. Would you let me? He asked. She stood and walked over. You really mean that? I do. She nodded once. Then I'll help. They stood there, both looking at the dusty trophies like they meant something again. Later that night, as LeBron stepped back outside, the air had cooled. He walked to the edge of the backyard and just stood there for a while, looking at the hoop. The stars were faint, but they were there, like distant reminders of things too far gone to fix but close enough to honor. He picked up the ball again. One more shot. This time, it went in. And somewhere deep down, it felt like Darnell had finally scored again too. LeBron didn't sleep much that night. He stayed in a quiet hotel on the edge of town, the kind of place where no one asked questions and the front desk barely looked up when he checked in. He left the TV off. The room was silent, save for the sound of traffic passing in the distance and the occasional knock of a loose window frame. He kept Darnell's letter on the nightstand, still unfolded. It was the last real thing he had from the kid who once challenged him every time they touched a court. The next morning, he rose early, threw on a hoodie, and headed back to Ms. Rivers' house. She was already outside, sipping coffee on the porch in an old robe. When she saw him walking up, she didn't say anything, just raised an eyebrow and handed him a second cup. The silence between them wasn't heavy anymore. Just familiar. I found something you might want to see, she said after a while, nodding toward the living room. Inside, on the coffee table, she'd laid out a collection of notebooks. Some spiral-bound, others barely holding together. All were filled with Darnell's handwriting, game sketches, play diagrams, journal entries, notes to himself. A life that never made it past its second quarter. LeBron sat down and opened one. The first page was a full-court diagram, with little stick figures labeled me and Bron. Above it, in all caps, the day I almost got him. He smiled. He never let that game go, did he? Not once, she said, taking a seat across from him. He relived that night 100 times. Said it was the closest he ever got to proving he belonged. LeBron kept reading, flipping pages. There were stories in there about growing up, about struggling in school, about being angry all the time and not knowing why. And always, there were references to LeBron. Not like he was a villain, more like a symbol. A reminder of everything Darnell could have been. "I want these," LeBron said. "Not to keep. To share. Let people see who he was." Ms. Rivers thought for a moment, then nodded. "If you're gonna tell it right, I will." Later that day, he made a call to his foundation director. Kept it short, just said he needed a team to meet him in Akron by the weekend. "We're setting up something for kids here. Something different. Quiet for now." "You got it," was the only reply he needed. The next stop was the old rec center. The same one where he and Darnell used to shoot after school. It had seen better days, peeling walls, flickering lights, but it still stood. LeBron hadn't been inside in years. He stepped through the doors and the memories hit like a wave. The old wooden floors, the squeak of shoes, the echo of a made shot. Coach Henderson was still there. A little grayer, a little slower, but sharp as ever. He looked up from his clipboard and froze when he saw who walked in. "Well, look what the wind blew in." LeBron smiled and gave the man a hug. "I need a favor," he said. "Let me guess, something to do with that wild kid you used to go at it with." "Yeah," LeBron said. "I want to start a camp. Not just drills and sprints. Real mentorship. Real structure. Call it the Darnell Rivers Project." Coach raised an eyebrow. "That'll get attention." "I don't want attention. I want results." The two men walked the perimeter of the gym. LeBron pointed to where they used to run suicides, where Darnell once dunked so hard the backboard shook. He could still hear the cheers, the laughter, the trash talk. "He could have been great," Coach said quietly. "We all saw it. But something was always fighting him inside." LeBron nodded. "I know. I saw it too. And I ignored it." "No," Coach said. "You had your own path. You made your choices. He made his. That doesn't mean you can't do something now." That evening, LeBron returned to Ms. Rivers' house with a box full of gear, shoes, jerseys, basketballs. He laid them out in her living room like it was a storefront. Her eyes welled up a little, but she didn't say anything at first. "We're opening registration by next week," LeBron said. "Free for all local kids. Priority to families who've had someone incarcerated or struggling. I want them to see this as a second chance." She finally spoke, her voice low. "He'd have loved this. Even if he didn't say it. He still gets to be part of it," LeBron said. "His name will be on every jersey." She nodded, eyes fixed on the gear. "You know," she said after a pause, "he wrote this one thing I never understood until now. He said, some people play for stats. Some play for the crowd. But some play so they're not forgotten." LeBron looked down. "He won't be." That night, LeBron drove around the neighborhood. Past the school. Past the gym. Past the corner store where they used to get Gatorades and laugh about who had the better crossover. The town hadn't changed much, but it felt like it carried more weight now. He pulled over near the park where Darnell once got into a fight that got him suspended for a game. A small plaque now sat near the entrance, nothing big, just a marker for community renovations. LeBron stared at it for a while, then took out his phone and typed a note. "Upgrade this park. New lights. Full court. Name it after Darnell. Make it a place kids come to win." He hit send. Then he just sat there, looking at the court, thinking about all the ways a life could turn with just one moment. One push. One person showing up. And he knew, for the first time, he was in the right place at the right time. By the time Saturday morning rolled in, the air around the rec center buzzed with something rare, hope. Word had spread faster than expected. Kids started showing up before sunrise, some in hand-me-down sneakers, others in slides and socks, holding worn-out basketballs, unsure if they were allowed inside. No signs. No press. But they knew. LeBron stood inside the gym, watching them through the glass. Coach Henderson had the volunteers setting up cones, taping fresh lines on the faded floor. New jerseys hung on a rack near the entrance, plain black and gold, with rivers stitched on the back. Every kid would wear the name, even if they didn't know it yet. A boy with oversized headphones around his neck hovered near the door, bouncing a ball softly. LeBron walked over. "You here for the clinic?" he asked. The kid nodded without looking up. "Yeah." "Name?" "Tyrese." LeBron smiled. "You hoop?" "Sometimes." "You're about to hoop a lot." Tyrese cracked the smallest grin. "You really LeBron?" LeBron crouched to eye level. "Sometimes." The kid laughed, just a little. It was enough. Inside, they split the gym into stations. Drills, footwork, ball handling. But more than that, they had breakout sessions, talks about school, discipline, family. At first, the kids didn't know what to make of it. But as the day went on, something shifted. They weren't just being taught, they were being seen. Ms. Rivers arrived around noon. She didn't say much. Just sat in the bleachers, watching the court that once carried her son's dreams. Every time a kid made a shot, she clapped. When they missed, she nodded like she understood exactly how it felt. In the corner of the gym, LeBron gathered a small group for something different. No drills. No cones. Just a circle and a story. "You guys know Darnell Rivers?" One boy shrugged. "Wasn't he, like, a friend of yours?" LeBron nodded. "He was my rival. Back in high school, he gave me the hardest games of my life. Almost beat me a few times." The kids leaned in. "He didn't make it. Life pulled him under. But he had fire. More than most. He just didn't get the help he needed in time. So we're doing this for him." A silence fell. One girl raised her hand. "Why didn't anyone help him then?" LeBron looked down at his hands. "Because sometimes people don't see the fall until it's too late. That's why we changed that now." After the session, he walked to the back office. Coach was inside, counting gear. "You see that?" LeBron said. "They're locked in." Coach nodded. "They believe in something. That's rare around here. I want this permanent. Year-round." Coach looked up. "You sure?" "Yeah. And I'm naming the scholarship after him, too." Coach smiled. "That'll shake some things." LeBron sat down, tired but full in a way he hadn't felt in years. Good. Later that afternoon, Tyrese found LeBron again. "Hey," he said, holding out a notebook. "I wrote some plays. Can you look?" LeBron flipped through the pages. They were messy, but the vision was clear. Angles, spacing, quick cuts. "You know who used to draw plays like this?" he asked. "Who?" "Darnell." Tyrese nodded, serious. "Coach says he was tough. Coach undersells him." They went outside together. The city had sent a rep to inspect the park project LeBron greenlit. The area still looked rough, broken lights, graffiti, weeds creeping up from cracks, but the bones were there. LeBron could see the future, bright lights, summer league games, kids running from school just to get a few shots in before dark. He turned to Tyrese. "You ever played 5-on-5 under the lights?" The boy shook his head. "You will." They walked the perimeter. A few other kids followed, curious. LeBron tossed the ball to one of them and called, "First to 5, make it take it." "Let's go." No cameras. No scripts. Just sweat, laughs, and trash talk. It felt like home. That night, back at Ms. Rivers' house, she opened the door before he knocked. "You've been busy," she said. "I think he'd want that." They sat on the porch. The sun had set, but the neighborhood was alive, kids biking, parents talking, music faint in the distance. He used to sit right there, she said, pointing to the edge of the porch. Told me one day he'd get us out of here. LeBron looked around. Funny thing is, maybe he still will. She didn't reply, just stared at the sky. Then she stood, went inside, and came back with something wrapped in cloth. This was his, she said, handing it over. LeBron unwrapped it. A pair of beat-up sneakers, his first signature model. Scuffed. Faded. But on the side, in ink, Darnell had written, "Still better than him." LeBron laughed, then choked a little. "I'm keeping these," he said. "Good," she replied. "He'd want you to." They sat in silence, the kind that no longer needed words. The city had forgotten Darnell Rivers. But now, one game, one park, one group of kids at a time, his name was coming back. And this time, it would stay. 2 months later, the sun dipped low over the newly rebuilt park in West Akron. The final touches were done: fresh pavement, bright backboards, smooth painted lines, and lights strong enough to keep the court glowing long after dark. The new sign stood at the entrance, simple but bold. Darnell Rivers Memorial Court. Play for the ones who never quit. No reporters. No sponsors. No headlines. That was the point. This wasn't about building a brand. This was about finishing what someone else started and never got the chance to complete. LeBron stood near the sideline as the first official 5-on-5 game tipped off under the lights. Tyrese dribbled the ball, calling out a play he drew in one of Darnell's old notebooks. The jersey on his back read Rivers, just like the other 9 on the court. They didn't wear their names, they wore his. Ms. Rivers sat on the front bench, wearing a shirt with Darnell's high school number stitched across it. She didn't smile wide or cheer loudly. She just watched with a quiet pride that said everything. Her boy's story was no longer ending in a prison obituary. It was still being written, by every kid out there grinding under the lights. After the game, LeBron stepped onto the court. The kids crowded around him, laughing, sweaty, fired up. He gave fist bumps, shoulder taps, little nods of approval. "All right," he called out. "Everybody circle up." They sat in a ring at center court. The same way he used to with his old teammates when the lights turned off and the city felt like it belonged to them. "You all know this place didn't always look like this," he said. "It wasn't just cracked pavement, it was forgotten. Just like some of us have been." He looked around, locking eyes with every kid in the circle. "But the game doesn't forget. Not if you respect it. Not if you play with heart." Tyrese raised his hand. "Did Darnell really almost beat you?" LeBron grinned. "He did beat me. Once. Middle of a scrimmage. No cameras. Just us. And he let me hear about it for the rest of the summer." The kids laughed. He had talent. More than most I've ever seen. But he also had fire. And when life tried to break him, he kept going anyway. That's why this court has his name. One kid leaned forward. "You think we could have played on the same team?" LeBron nodded. "If we had one more game? I'd have picked him first." The laughter settled, and the moment got quiet again. "Real. You don't need to go to the league," LeBron continued. "But if you walk on this court, play like Darnell did, fearless, focused, no excuses." A few heads nodded. The message landed. After the huddle broke, Tyrese stayed behind. He dribbled quietly while the others left. "You all right?" LeBron asked. "Yeah," the boy replied. "Just thinking." "About what?" "I never knew who he was. But now I kind of feel like I do." LeBron looked at the rim, then back at Tyrese. "You do. And now it's your turn to make someone else feel that way." Tyrese stepped back and took a shot. Swish. A slow smile formed. As the court cleared, LeBron walked back to his car. He paused, looking back one last time. The lights bathed the court in a soft white glow. Somewhere out there, he could hear sneakers squeaking, kids arguing over calls, the rhythm of basketball taking root again. He climbed into the driver's seat and reached into the glove box. Inside, wrapped in a towel, were Darnell's old sneakers. He kept them close, not for nostalgia, but as a reminder. Before starting the engine, he picked up his phone and dialed a number. "Yo, Rich," he said when his friend picked up. "Yeah, I'm heading back. But listen, we're expanding the program." A pause. "No, not just Akron. Everywhere. Chicago. Detroit. Baltimore. Any place where there's a kid like Darnell who just needs one person to show up." He smiled. "Yeah. Let's build more courts." He hung up. As he drove away, the glow of the court faded in the rearview mirror, but the fire it lit didn't. It lived in every kid who would lace up on that court. In every shot taken late at night. In every kid who thought they were invisible until someone showed them they weren't. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere beyond all this, Darnell was smiling too.